So, good morning. And anyone who has questions, please feel free to type in the chat, the group chat, asking questions because there's about 50, 60 people sign up. So I just don't think it's efficient to have people ask directly in the audio. So it will be easier to manage questions through the group chat. So today's target audience is the teens who haven't started to really think about the personal finance or investment. So we have two sessions. The first session is the more exciting one, is trying to get you guys excited because it's about making more money, right? The second session is actually, how to say that? I wouldn't say it's more important, but it's more like a personal financial hygiene. It's the things you have to know in order to protect yourself, protect your money. So that will be the second session. So let's get started. How do I? Okay. Oh, gee. Okay, we will start with two stories, and both stories are real ones. Okay, so the first story is there's a company called Motley Fool. It's founded by two brothers, David and Tom. Tom is a younger brother, and this is the biggest stock advisory service on the world probably right now. So they basically gave advices to people to choose the stock to invest. So basically the brothers, you can call them investors, and the company is in DC area. That's a company that the reason I want to talk to you is in the future I probably will share some articles and their podcast to you. It's a really good one. So a lot of their recommendation is actually free. So I want you to pay attention in the future. And I really like their philosophy about investing and personal finance. So this is a story told by Tom, the younger brother. So one day he went to a bar in the DC area, and it's around like spring summer time, and there's a group of biker in the bar, and one of it's like a middle-aged man, and so they're having a drink, so they struck a conversation, right? So they ask each other, and the biker told Tom that he has been riding the bike. It's like one of the most important thing in his life. The biker has a very close community. They do event, like they bike to the DC area, have an event every year. They biking together, really enjoy the life of being a biker since he was like young. And he asked what Tom do. And Tom told him, I'm a stock investor, investing in stocks. And the biker said, well, stock it's not good. And Tom asked why. And he has, many years ago, I have $5,000 and I gave to a broker, and a stockbroker. So that is the time, the old time before 90s, you cannot really buy stock on your own. Not right now. Like you go internet, you buy stock, sell stocks. It's very easy. That time you have to go through a broker, and they will buy and sell stock for you. So he found a broker and gave him $5,000, and the broker bought, I forgot whether it's a restaurant or a retail grocery store for him, and that whatever business it was, the biker never heard about it. It's not familiar with that. But anyway, he trusted So what the company name? Oh, okay. Good. So it's Motley Fool. And their website is fool.com. Okay, so he bought the broker bought the stock for him. He's not familiar with the business. He trusts the broker, but then all the money is gone, right? The business somehow it just lost all the money. And then Tom asked him, saying, "Well, you love biking so much, right? And you really love your bike. Why didn't you buy the Harley motor? What is called Harley Davidson, right? The the bike production producer. Why don't you buy their stock?" And for the period, like about 15 years, if he bought the stock that time, and his $5,000 would have become $500,000 instead of lost all the money. Okay, this is the first story I want you to remember. Okay, the second story. Okay, the second story. I don't know whether right now, we basically all use a Google map to do GPS, find the road. But a little bit earlier, a lot of people use Garmin, like a device, specifically GPS device in the car to find where he wants to go. And that company was founded by two people, and one of them is a Taiwanese person, and his name, I believe, is Min Kao. And he got his bachelor degree in Taiwan, a very good university, and then he moved to the United States for his master and doctor in EE, and in Tennessee, I think University of Tennessee. And then after that, he joined NASA and be an engineer. And then he have in the field he worked, and then he worked with his partner, say, okay, they have this idea, and they created this Garmin, the GPS that is a very pioneer in that field. And when they have this idea, they have the design, and they need to produce the device, they need money, right? And so he went back to his brothers, sisters in Taiwan, saying, I have this idea, and I have a partner. We want to produce this GPS. We want to start a new business, startup business. And his older brother was clerk in the Taiwan government. He didn't make a lot of money, for people who work for government. He didn't have a lot of money, but he get by. He is a lot of Chinese people are saving a lot, right? They save as much as possible, so he does have savings. And so he took, and he thought, his younger brother is the most talented, brilliant person in his family. And he thought, if there's anything going to do something special, it will be this brother. So he basically took out all his savings. And I think he even, the story, if I heard it right, he even sold a house and gave all the money to his brother, his younger brother. And then his younger brother business got really successful. And Min Gao, the younger brother, who is the owner of the Garmin, definitely made a lot of money, and now is a billionaire living in Manhattan. The story is about his older brother. His older brother have several children, and he made a lot of money as well. He didn't work for the company. He didn't contribute like working and ideas. He just invested in the money. And he got the proceed, the dividends from the company and the shares, So his children, the story I heard is about his children. So he sent his children to the United States to, study in the university. And one of his sons was studied as a physician. So it took many years, went to medical school. But by the time he graduated, the company has been so successful. He doesn't need to work for his whole life. I mean, this is his brother's son, right? So he didn't even work one day as a doctor. He just saying, well, that's not really what he wanted to do. So he finds something he really liked to do because he doesn't need to work for money anymore. And he bought a few beach house. It's right in there here, Seattle. That's how I know the story. Right here in Seattle, he have a few beach house, and they just enjoy, both him and his wife enjoy life, do whatever they want. They don't have to work anymore. That's a second story. Okay. So what's the point of the stories then? Okay. The first story is pretty simple. When you invest, you basically put money in something or some person that you know very well and you like very well. Like, for example, the biker, he really loved his bike because he thinks it's a great product. It's probably one of the best in the world, right? So if such a company produces such a good product, it must be a good company. Then you should invest into that company instead of a restaurant you have never heard of, right? And then for the second story, the older brother, because he trusts his brother, he knows his brother is brilliant, and he's saying, if I have this money on my own, I probably can invest and make some money, but if I gave to my brother, he may work magic, right? And it's what actually happened. The return is really a phenomenal for both the people. The first people, the biker didn't do it, but if he did it, his $5,000 will become $500,000. Anyway, so that's the first point. The second point is be nice to your smart classmates. You never know. One of them or two of them maybe turn out to be mean cow, right? And if you have a good relationship, when he had a good idea, he may come to you saying, well, I have this good idea. Would you like to invest like $5,000 in me? And that $5,000 maybe turn out to be $1 million a few years later. You never know, right? So be smart be nice to the smart people. Okay, so now all your classmates are your same age. So it will be years before one of them become Elon Musk, right? So you can do that. You can, so how we're talking about investment right now. So how you guys go about to invest. And then remember the first story, we find public traded companies. And so there's two concepts. One is a public traded company, one is a private company. It's like, for example, okay, you go to a farmer's market and there's people selling baby chicks. There's very cheap, like a few dollars. And the idea is and you don't even know it's a female chick or a male chick, right? The idea is you buy the chicks, you raise them up, and then they become hen and lay eggs for you, right? But since there's a risk, you don't know, you may buy a chicken, they turn out to be a rooster, and you never enjoy the eggs. There's a risk, but it's really cheap. So you spend $5, and later on you may get a lot of eggs, you may not. So you can also buy a chicken, a hen. It's like they're just start laying eggs. They have many years to lay eggs, and you can buy them and you start to enjoy eggs for sure right away. Those hens probably most expensive, right? And you can also buy how to say that, a hen probably already a few years old and people don't want them anymore. they're not as expensive as the hen just started laying eggs, because they're like the potential is more limited, right? So so the idea is like you can think about the baby chick as a how to say that, private company. It's not, I shouldn't say that, not exactly. Okay, so that a company, even a mature company, doesn't have to be public traded. So let me switch an idea. That's the chicken one is not, it's talking about the stage of company maturity, but not really a public or private. So whenever you start a company, see you're a business owner, when you start a company, you always start with a private because you own it, right? But at a certain point, like me and Carl, he wants to, he need the money to produce the device. And at first, he probably only need to produce like 1,000, trying to see whether he can sell it, right? For the 1,000 device, he probably can borrow money from his brothers and his friends, saying, you know, can you give me $1,000 or something? So he produced the device. But the 1,000 device, if it's selling really well and the market really like it, now he wants to produce 1,000,000 pieces of devices. There's no way he can borrow money from people anymore, right? So he will say, okay, I have this company and I have this product and the people like the product. So I need to raise like $3 million in order to produce 1,000,000 devices. And so I would divide my company into like 100 shares. And if you give me $5,000, you can have 1 share. And in the future, if I made like $5,000, then each share, not 100 pieces, right? If I made like $1 million and then divide by 100, if you have 1 share, you will get $100. That is what means he basically take the company into public. So now he's not only shares, there's other people, he's not only the only owners. The company become public traded company, then there's many other people who bought the share become the company owner. So when we see a stock is 1 share of a public traded company. When you buy a stock, you become one of the owners of the company. Make sense? Well, let me know if I confuse you. Okay, ask questions in the group chat, and we can address that. So okay, so but a lot of people, a lot of company, when they don't in the need of raise money, right? For example, the Motley Fool is the company we're talking about. It's a very successful company, and they become global. They have offices around the world, but they are a private company. They don't want to go public. First of all, they don't really need a lot of money because they're internet company. They don't really need a large cash to produce stuff. Also, when you become a public traded company, you have to, for example, now you have a 1,000,000 other company owners, right? There's a regulations in the United States, actually around the world. If you're a public traded company, you have to have financial responsibility to all the owners, even the owner only have 1 share, right? You need to disclose, and it's a lot of things you do, important decisions, how the money you used and how the business going, how you manage that, how much you get, you know, the CEOs, your leader and your owner, how much you get from the company. All the owners need to know. So to be a public traded company, you do get a lot of money, but there's also more responsibilities and burdens. So not all the private companies wants to become a public company. Okay, so that's the idea. Now we'll talk about the company's worth. This is the chicken idea. So I reversed it. So this is the chicken thing. So how much of company worth? If it's a baby, like the company is still, it doesn't matter if it's public traded or it's private. If it's just the beginning, like a mean cost first idea to start a company, it's a baby chick, right? So you invest in $5,000 and that could turn out to be like 5 million in the future. You don't know because at the beginning it doesn't really worth much. It's still young, right? But if the company start to grow and you can see that it start making money, then like the chicken start to making eggs, then you know the company definitely is worth something. And then another thing you look at whether the company worth money is how much potential. Like if it's a young chicken, it has a lot of potential to make more money. If it's an old chicken hen, it may not have a lot of potential to make more money, more eggs. So that's a few things to evaluate how much a company worth. And another thing that usually the business analyst to analyze the company worth is whether the company has the position in the market has a risk. For example, Walmart, right? It's a grocery, it's a big department grocery store. Yeah, grocery store. But there's so many grocery stores, right? He's not the only one. But when you're talking about the buying things online, Amazon for many years is dominant, still dominant, I think, in the market, right? So that's the risk to stay number one to make money is also something like, and also other risks, like for example, right now, the gas price is lower. If you're a gas company, you may start losing money, right? So all these risks. So at the beginning, when a company, before the company went to public, like Ming saying, okay, I want to bring my company into the public market, I want to sell some share. Usually it's a bunch of business analysts do all the analysts I was talking about. They do much more than what I talked about, right? I just list a few. They will do all the analysis and say, okay, this company probably worth $1 billion. Okay, and then they ask company saying how many share you want to sell, and means that, well, I want to divide it into a million share and sell half of them. And then the business analyst say, okay, your company, if it's worth $1 million and you divide into 1 million shares, then means $1 per share, right? So that's how it goes. But as soon as the company become public traded company, they start to sell the shares, and we as a common investor start buying the shares, we become the company owner, right? And that time, how much the company worth is no longer decided by a few business analysts. It's become a more democratic, right? It's decided by the million company owners. Like if I have a share, when I get it, it's a $1, right? But some days, oh, the company is doing really well. You know, their device is selling fast. Their revenue every year, their revenue grows like 30% each year. Now my $1 is not just worth $1. It should worth like $1.30. You know, I paid for the baby chick. Now it's become a hen. That's definitely worth more money. So that is a market. So people start to negotiate in the market, like how much, if I have a share, how much it wants to sell and how much I would like to pay for your share. And that decided how basically the company price. It's very dynamic. It changes day by day because it's a market, right? Okay, so that's how much a company worth. It changed Just keep that in mind. We'll talk about this in the future when we really look at the examples of stocks. So, okay, now we know for Amazon it's $3,000 a share, and Microsoft is $200 a share. So which company is cheaper? That's actually a wrong question. It's a trap. Why? I want to show you. Remember, what is a stock? Stock is the price per share. It's not the company's price. Okay, let's see. This is something in the future if you're interested in stock, and this is a site you should familiar with. So it's a finance.yahoo.com. I use it a lot. So let's see, Amazon, this is a ticker symbol. They call it ticker symbol. You in the stock, you use a ticker symbol to represent the company, not the full company name. It's just easier. So we see if you look at this, like look at this market cap, right? That is how much the company worth total. It's $1.5 trillion. Okay, so let's use Excel to calculate how many shares they divided the company into. Where is my Excel? Okay, here. So we have Amazon, and how much it worth? $1.578 trillion. So 111. So it's 12 of that, and each share would be $3,164.5. And how many shares they have? Let's see. So they have about 500,000. No. 500 million. 500 million shares. And if you buy one share, you're one of the 500 million, right? Let's look at Microsoft. Microsoft. See that? It's actually the company is about the same price. So it's $1,552,0,0,0 and another 30, and the price is 205. And how many share? A lot more, right? So yeah, so if you buy one share of Microsoft, you basically is one of the 7 billion owners, right? So the company's, the stock price, it doesn't mean the company's worth. So whether a stock is expensive, whether you say a company's stock is expensive or not, the per share price doesn't really mean anything. It just means how big a share you got. So you don't buy stock saying, for example, you buy Microsoft because it's cheaper. Not necessarily. You just get a small piece of share. Remember this, okay? A lot of people make mistakes. They buy cheaper stock because they think that the company is cheap. So in the future, like they bought a baby chick, in the future they may grow into hen, they make more money. Not necessary. You buy if the per share price is lower, it only means a lot of time, it only means you get a smaller piece of the company. Okay, it doesn't mean it's cheap. So, okay, keep that in mind. So it's more important when you decide which company you want to invest. It's more about always remember the two stories I told you. I hope you can remember these two stories. Whether you trust the company, whether you trust the CEO, the leader of the company, whether you trust their service, their product. If you love their product, you love their service, you invest in that. It's not about the price per share. But then I know a lot of people, the case I taught about the personal finance ask, well, I only have $100. It can't even, well, if I have a $200, I might be able to buy Microsoft, but I'll never be able to buy Amazon. No. So the share we talked about is like a whole share. But right now, a lot of internet brokerage company, like where you buy stock, you can buy split shares. Basically, you can divide their shares, the whole shares, into even smaller piece, and you share, for example, with other kids. The other kids maybe only have $5, right? You group the brokerage, like the internet company, basically group a lot of this smaller money together and buy one share. So you get the split share of Microsoft or Amazon. So don't worry about the per share price. When you choose a company, you only think about it's a good company, it's going to growing. I like this company and I want to buy, invest $100, and I hope eventually the $100 will become 1,000. Okay, maybe 10,000. It take time. Okay, so that's the very basic about the. Oh, one movie. I don't know whether you guys watched. It's called The Post. I don't know how many. It's about the Washington Post. How it's go. The story is not about a stock, but it does happen around when the company become a public traded company, from private company become a public traded company. And they're talking about a lot about, how the process takes and what's the risk for the company, that if you haven't watched, that's a really good movie. And if you haven't watched it, I want you to watch it again. If you want to, whenever you watch it, also pay attention about that story. It's kind of a background story, how the company become from private, become a public. Just know the process. Okay, so let's move on. The next one, why do we invest? The first one is pretty straightforward, right? Everyone loves money. More money is always good, right? So if we have $100, we definitely want, if it become $1,000, it will be nice. Everyone love it. But if you put the $100 in your pocket or even in bank, it will stay as a 100, right? So that's why we want to invest. The second thing is, for example, if I really like Tesla and I want to put my money into Tesla, so the company will have more money to produce even better model of Tesla or more cars. So in the future, I can buy better cars or cheaper cars. They can grow their business. So it's a business I really liked. I want them to grow, so I put money in them. Okay, so that's the second point. But all these are nice to have. Do we really need to invest? Okay, think about this way. You guys are all like around 15, 18, like from 12 to 18, probably in that range. And you will go to college. And once you graduate from undergraduate school, some of you may go to graduate school, and some of you may get into the job market and start to, trying to find out what you really like to do, find the right position, right company for you. And that will take a few years, right? So usually in Chinese, we have a saying, say, 30而立. So basically, we usually say people get kind of stabilized, settled, have a good job, good income, a good career, established around age of 30. And that's the time, because you have the stability, you start really save, right? You're earning good, and you cover your expense, and you also start to saving more. And then how many years you will work? Do you kids know when you're going to retire in the United States? What age is called the retirement age? It's 60, right? It may, in the future, because people are living longer, it may getting longer, but right now it's 60. So you basically study, prepare yourself for 30 years, and for that 30 years, you are your parents' investment. They invest in you the effort and the money, and then at age of 30, you become the hen, right? You start to make eggs. So then you work for 30 years. And by the age of 60, you're retired, right? And how long are you going to live after you're retired? The average right now, the people live is, I think it's close to 90 years old right now, 80 something. But I think because of the medical improvement, and I'm sure that by your retirement age, the people will live probably more than 100 years. But anyway, so let's just say the current standard is you prepare yourself for 30 years, work for 30 years, and you retire for 30 years. You only make money for the middle of 30 years, but then after you retire, you will spend the same money, right? And where you get that money? That is when you saved during your working years, right? So basically, from 30 to 60, each year the money you make will need to support 2 years. When you're age of 30, and then when you're age of 61. And at age of 32, you need to make money for 2 years. Age of 32 and age of 62. Make sense? And if you ask your parents how much they're saving, yes, I'm sure none of them can save half, save 50%. That's just too much. People probably, if they're doing good, they can save 10%, 20%. That's pretty good already. No one can save half of the money. And how are you going to support when you get retired? You have to use the money you save, like 10%, 20%. You have to invest those money so those money can grow, become 100% to support the year 61 and the year 62. Does that make sense? So I met with, the reason I really enjoy teaching the kids about the investment is I'll talk about that in the next session, but it's really, really something, the concept, not just skill, the concept need to be built in your mind. This is a key skill. It's like reading. Everyone need to know. You have to know this in order to survive in the future. So I do have friends like my same age people. They say, well, I don't know how to invest. I'm not interested. That's wrong. You have to, in order to survive, this is a basic life skill you have to know. Okay, I can't emphasize this enough. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, the FIRE movement. If you guys interested, you can search internet and find what the FIRE movement means. So FIRE movement is financial independence, retire early. Remember the second story. The children of the older brothers. They went to all they finished their school, all the best school, right? They finished the doctor, the medical school, but they didn't have to work. So I think a lot of Asian family. I don't know about your parents, but and a lot of Asian family, they ask their kids to study something for the sake of making enough money, right? So study computer science, become a software engineer, or become a double E, so you can make enough money. You know, you can study art, but as a hobby, but don't make a career because it won't make enough money to support yourself. So that's a big thing in the Asian family, Chinese family, that the kids under a lot of pressure to find a subject of a direction that you can make enough income when you get the job. It may not necessarily the field you love, you really inspire to, right? So then the financial independence, if you can make good financial decisions and you can save and invest, make good investment to support yourself, so that will become your main, like one of the main support for your life expense. Then you don't have to work for money. Then you retire early. Retire early doesn't mean that you don't do anything. No, you will feel bored. Your life will become miserable. It's not like retire early, you don't do anything. It's now you can do something you love. You just don't work for money. And that is basically the core concept of FIRE movement. And it's a big community there. So if you guys interested, you can do a little bit of research on that one. Okay. Maybe your cousins or your classmates become have a great idea, they're really brilliant, and you believe they can start a business. Oh, my internet connection is unstable. Can you guys still hear me? Okay. So, yeah. Okay, good. So you, until then, you won't be able to do the second story, copy the second story, but you can always do the first, copy the first story, right? So looking around the products you really loved, and the service you really loved, and the restaurant you really loved, right? They're all businesses. So choose the ones, just list the ones you really enjoy, you think they're making good products, they provide good services, and then try to find out whether they're public traded company or they're private. If they're a private company, you can invest, right? But if it's a public traded company, then you can invest in them and make money. You become owner of that company. How doesn't it feel nice if you can tell people you're owner of Amazon, right? You're not the only one owner, but you're one of the owner. Okay, so and then once you start looking for, pay attention. I'm not asking you to put money into a product company business right away. Okay, it will take some time, but I want you guys to start to have the awareness to identify good businesses. And this skill is not even beyond investment. If you start to identify what's good business, you start looking for patterns, right? And then you start looking for directions. And then when you go to college and when you go to job market, you know what's good business looks like. You will start to identify potentials. And this is all very important skills. So start from looking around, find good companies, find good businesses. And who knows, maybe you become the Elon Musk, right? And your friends start to invest in you. The third one, okay, now we getting more serious about, okay, I want to get familiar with the market, how the stock is traded, right? And how the stock move in the market, because remember, it's a lot of people trading the stock. The price is changing, the company price changing every second, right? So how it's like a big wave, and if you're sitting in the ocean and there's a waves, how you handle all those waves? There's tops, there's ups and there's downs, right? So there's a game. And I want you guys, it's a mobile game. So whether it's iPhone or it's Android phone, you can download that game, Investment Island, and start. This is like you use a stock. It's basically the game is powered by the real price of a stock in the game, right? For example, if you have I just installed. I heard a lot about it, but I'm not a game person, so I haven't figured out how to play yet. But I heard good things about it. So you play the game and you start to notice the price change is your power in your game to push you forward. And then you have missions. You leverage those powers to achieve your missions. It's an interesting game, and in the process, you start to get familiar with the stock market. Okay, so get this, you can start right away. And then before you can do any real investment, you need to have enough savings. Okay, even $5 would do, but $5 becomes $6 is 20% of gain. It's a lot, but for you, it's just not enough, right? So you'd rather to say, okay, I have $1,000 and it become $12,000. It's 20%, but this 20% is more significant. So substantial, right? So step up your savings, and for your birthday party, instead of if your mom say, okay, let's go out eat, maybe that you have to go out. It's like a family event. But if your mom saying, oh, I want to buy a toys for you or some gift for you, I said, no, just give me the money. I want to invest. Something like that, right? So and your teenagers, you can start to do a little bit of work now, whether you're helping your neighbors or you even help your parents. Say, it's not the chores that you're part of family, you have to do chores anyway, but something like, for example, yeah, I have ducks, and my son helped me dig a duck pool. Okay, that's a lot of work, and I can pay for that, right? That's not some like a family chore that they do daily. You can help your parents. Say, well, if there anything like a big in the house that you haven't have a chance, like something they want to build, or they want to throw away a garbage, and you can do that, clean up some area. You can make some money and step up your savings, so you'll be ready when you identify a good company, and that you have the confidence, more comfortable with the market. Now you have the money to invest. So is it the app? Yes, the Investment Island is the app, a mobile app. Okay, so yeah, that's for today. What time is it? Let me see. I don't have... Oh, okay. So more than oh, we just cool. So we finished early. Okay, so I think then this is the time for questions, and also in our next session I have very high level there's a different ways, different styles in investment. It's I don't know whether you guys heard like a devil in the details. So on the app store, really? Let me check my phone. Are you using iPhone or Android? Let me check mine. Oh, okay, wrong one. It's called Investor Island. It's called Investor Island. This one. Let's see. Yeah, Investor Island. It's from, this is created by Motley Fool, by that company. They're basically, the company's mission is educate people about stocks, about investment. Okay, so next week we're talking about like the different ways, even buying stock, selling stock. There's so many different styles, and to do that, and also, and we probably can. This is going to. I think it's interesting if we just look at some of the stock and trying to see the business through the numbers, right? Based on the stock, like the one we're talking about, right? So whether the company is making money, how much money it's making, you know, and what's the potential, what's the growth, whether it's a stabilized company or it's a still growing company, and what's the potential the company has, right? What kind of risk it has. And these things, we can look at the numbers, trying to do some a little bit of study about companies. It will help you in the future to choose the right stocks. And the third one is, the third one is really, really important. That's what I say, the personal finance hygiene. That's some things you have to pay attention. It's not something exciting, but you need to know to keep your finance healthy. Okay, so that's for today, the contents for today. Now we're open for questions. Any questions you guys wants to ask? Yes, you can own stock at any age. And it's actually, I know people who open a account for when as soon as the baby is born, they open an account and put money in the baby's name. So of course the baby cannot choose stocks. So the parents will invest on behalf of the baby, and then when the baby like grow up to be 18 years old, and then they use that money for their college. I know a lot of people doing that. No, you cannot own stock under your own name until you're 18 years old. You have to, your parents has to be the sponsor, and it's your account, but your parents are your sponsor, kind of, they're co-owned. Other questions? And there's some we're talking about the, go back to one. Okay, website, like I said, one is a fool.com, and I was looking for their podcast. Their podcast, I think, is called Rule Breaker Investing. Looking for this one podcast. It's David, the brother. He actually started English literature, so he's podcast is it's fun. It's fun to listen. It's not totally just talking about investment. It's like a talk show. It's very easy to listen, but it does talk about a lot of fundamentals about investment, and I really enjoy that one. So, and the fullcomp.company, you can also get a lot of information there, more if you want to read more systematically. And then if you want to do look at the stock and get familiar with the market about the number, is finance.yahoo.com. Yeah. And then next time we were talking about the a few brokerages where you can open an account. If you want to open an account now, I think all you guys should heard about Robinhood, right? And that is free and easy to use. But I also want to I think is M1 Finance. This is another one I really liked. So we'll talk about that next time when you get into the details. For right now, the most important homework is to think about to identify business, and you can talk to your parents, right? So they all have, they may not pick stocks, but they do know companies. For example, if your parents work for Microsoft or work for Amazon or work for Google, they know their field. Like you can ask him, do you think Microsoft is a good business? Why? You know, are they making money? Do they have potentials? You know, what the potentials and what are their competitors, right? So what if there's another company you think is maybe close to Microsoft or is better than Microsoft? What's that company? You can interview people because you don't have a job yet, you haven't worked yet, you're not, maybe you're thinking about the products and the service you're using is probably still limited, right? So you can reach out to people around you who are already in the field, right? If your parents are doctors, then you say, okay, what's like the most what the area their expertise is, then what the equipment they're using, right? The most potential medicines in the field, they will give you some idea, and then you can do research. Another story I want, I'll just tell you now. So you guys studied the American history about the gold rush, right? Alaska, many people went to Alaska to find the gold, and most people didn't find anything. There's people got rich, but you know who other people get most of the money? This business who sell shovels, you know, and sell equipment to those gold diggers. So this is something I want you to remember the story, because in the future you will find that, for example, you know Apple, right? So Apple is a good product. You have their iPhone, but each iPhone has a chip, and that's a core part of the iPhone to make the iPhone an iPhone. And that chip is produced by a company called Qualcomm. So in the future, when you study a company, you can also study the dependencies a company has, right? So if you can identify those dependency, you can actually identify a great businesses that you probably not even know when you just look at the surface. That's something it's a skills you will learn, and also by reading like a Fool.com and, you know, reading all this and talking to people, you will learn more. Okay, that's 1 hour. Any questions? Okay, you're very welcome. I hope it's helpful. I hope I can start you guys thinking in the right direction. And I always hope to see you next week. Goodbye.